I'm fascinated.
What is the most exciting thing about looking at this data?
It's Pandora's box. You just discover one thing and then it leads into another thing and you wonder why that's happened. So, like little blips in the throttle, and you can think, well, what happened there? I mean, genuinely, sometimes you do actually have a bit of a moment. You kind of shut the throttle off, and that will show in the data.
2D data logging, that comes with the S1000RR, but you have to turn it on.
All of the data is recorded in the bike. The bike is actually producing all of this data for you, and 2D data logging unit and lap timer unit, which you can purchase through BMW, and it plugs in, and once you've registered it, your details through to 2D, it then basically switches on and you've got all this data to play with.
What else did you notice from these traces that really surprised you?
So we've got turn 1 there, turn 2, accelerate. That kink there is actually turn 3. We then shut the throttle and arrive at turn 4. Let's move along. This section here is at what you would call the back straight, and then you decelerate into the end of the straight is like a kind of tight right-hander. And while I'm here, let's have a quick look at this one.
I'm just noticing that your peaks on the green are really sharp. Does that mean you're driving to a brake?
No, this is engine RPM. Green is so that you'll be accelerating. You'll get to, I'm changing gear at 12.950 there, is it? Maybe just 13. Yeah, it's about 12.9, just short of 13. I'll then change gear, so obviously the engine RPM drops. I'll carry on accelerating again, change gear again.
Is that where you pull the clutch in to change gear?
You don't pull the clutch in nowadays, do you?
Sorry. Is that where you change gear between the two peaks?
When your revs drop off, that's where the gear change kind of happens. What I'd like to quickly point out here is this group of lines here. Now, the purple line here is the actual front lever pressure. That means how many bar pressure I'm putting through the brake at this point. The maximum bar hit at this point is 13.5, but that's as hard as I squeezed on this particular lap. Again, red line is showing the GPS speed. I've got to a point where I've said now's the time to start slowing down. I've closed the throttle itself. Now, one thing you see here is obviously then I go straight up for brakes and I'm on pretty much full brakes. It's starting to slow down. You can see I've actually eased slightly back on the brakes to keep the bike stable as much as anything else. This blue line here down at the bottom is actually showing the engine management blipping the throttle as I'm changing down for me, because that's what the blipper does. It increases the engine RPM just like you would normally blip if you hadn't got a blipper. What is fascinated me was, even though I've got the throttle, my grip completely closed, I've actually, even after it's blipped, it's still giving 13% throttle. That means it's actually the engine is got the throttle open ever so slightly, and this is to help to keep the bike stable and to help the wheel stop locking up. You can change it fractionally with the amount of engine braking, or wind the engine braking off. It generally speaking will increase the throttle a little bit, or decreasing it reduces the amount of throttle. So you can change this ever so slightly. But it did fascinate me how much, even with this is set in the medium range on the engine braking, how much throttle it's actually giving it when you've got the throttle physically closed. And then you look at the braking and progressively easing the brake off. Now,
is that trail braking?
It's the first part of trail braking, and you can see this bit here, I'm trailing it off. So the shape I've created here is big brakes to kill the lump of the big speed, and then I start to taper the brake off to gain control, because I'm getting to the point now around this section where this white line is here, where now I'm starting to, as you can see by the angle of lean, I'm getting to this point of the track where I've actually started to feed the bike into the corner. The angle of lean is going up and up and up and up and up. That physically shows trail braking, because it's high pressure dropping off. But the rate of deceleration is very, very steep to start off with, because it's got big brakes, and then gradually starts to flatten off a little bit as I start to ease the brake off. And when I finally release the brake right down here, it's still slowing down because effectively the throttle's still closed. So all of this sort of thing you can really explore, it can help to fill in those little irritating gaps of what happened, what am I doing, why is this happening. It can help with the feel aspect as well.
Oh, so after you finish braking, that lovely climb is full gas.
This particular corner, it's not like the bike sits up and you're on another straight. You go into like a long radius kind of opening out type of corner. So it's, even with traction control, you can't be too liberal with the throttle. So when you come out of this corner, you basically roll into the throttle. That's what these two lines are here, the blue line and the beige line. These two lines here. It gets a bit clouded here because of following the engine RPM. The orangey beige line here showing what I'm physically doing with my hand, and following it slightly behind is the actual throttle opening. You can see by the progressional way the throttle is developing, the percentage is increasing progressively. Let's zoom into this bit here. This bit here, you can see how it's quite a steep climb to full throttle. So it's not taken me long from basically picking the throttle up to getting to full gas. And the engine, thankfully, has followed me along the way. The little blips in the blue line where it drops down fractionally, even though I've got the throttle fully open, is where traction has kicked in and it's kind of eased the power back a bit. It's found grip again and it's gone back onto power. I'm going to go into this in more detail. I love it.